podcast style. Hey there, storytelling is one of the most powerful tools you have to hook your listeners and keep them glued to every word. But let's be real, a lot of the advice out there makes it sound way too complicated. The truth is, storytelling is actually pretty simple if you know what really matters. If you just give me 9 minutes, you'll discover the 5 storytelling techniques to tell insanely good stories. But before we dive in, let me show you a quick example from John Krasinski. You might know him from The Office. It's a super short 20-second story, but it's so powerful. By the end of today, you'll know exactly how to tell stories just like him. The best stories don't just summarize events. They don't stay at that helicopter level. They zoom into the moment. They take us into the trenches. They let us be a part of that physical moment. And the good thing is, it's not that difficult. I'm now going to show you 5 techniques that you can use in all of your stories. First up, location. Say where you are. The best stories start by stating the location. Where are you physically? For example, 2 weeks ago, I'm sitting on my couch in my living room, taking a deep breath. Or, September 2019, I'm standing in front of the conference room, ready to walk inside. Why does it matter to state the location? Because the moment you say conference room or living room, your audience will start to visualize it. They're like, oh yeah, I know a conference room, and they start to visualize their version of that conference room. Now, beginner storytellers often make the mistake of giving too many details. They're like, oh, in that conference room, there was a big table, a television, and a wooden floor. Don't do that. It doesn't matter. Just state the location. As long as they can visualize it, the details don't matter. They'll have their own version of that location. Second technique, actions. What are you doing in that specific moment of the story? Instead of giving way too much context about all the random stuff that doesn't matter, just say what you're doing. That can be walking, biking, shouting, reading, waiting. Whatever it is, just state the actions. State the verbs. For example, I'm in my office, I open my laptop and start reading a message from my manager. Or, 2 weeks ago, I'm at the airport waiting in line at security. Why does it matter to state the actions? Because it brings in forward momentum. It takes the listener right into the moment. When you do that, your audience will immediately know that you won't waste their time. You're straight away taking them into the most important part of the story. Third technique, thoughts. What are you thinking? We as humans have thousands and thousands of thoughts every single day. A lot of those thoughts are hopes, dreams, plans, fears, worries, crazy thoughts. Share some of those thoughts at that crucial moment of the story. Instead of saying, I was excited to meet my crush, say, I thought, this would be so cool, right? Finally, I can see her after all that time. Or instead of saying, I was very disappointed about that presentation, say, oh man, this is bad, right? Everyone will think now I'm stupid. I can never go back there. Do you see the difference? It's a tiny tweak, but it makes any story much more interesting. But hey, a common mistake is that people share thoughts that sound too professional, too intellectual. They say something like, I thought this represents a supreme opportunity. Would your thoughts actually sound like that? Probably not, right? So when you share your thoughts, give us the raw, unfiltered thoughts. Give us those juicy, a little bit neurotic thoughts that will make your story much more relatable. Fourth technique, emotions. What are you feeling? The best stories are emotional. They take the listeners on this emotional journey. With the previous technique, you already know one way to make it more emotional, but there's another one. The simplest way is to just state an emotion. So you say something like, I was disappointed, I was relieved, I was happy. Now, that's pretty standard, right? That's what most people do, but it's not ideal because it's not really visual. When you hear someone saying, I was disappointed, you can't really visualize it. The better way is to show the emotion. Show how it looks on the body, on the face, when you experience that emotion. For example, instead of saying, I was relieved, say, in that moment, I leaned backward and let out this big sigh. Or, Instead of saying he was anxious, say he kept tapping his pen on the table and he kept glancing up to the clock every several seconds. Do you see the difference? Showing the emotion makes it much more visual. It takes us into the specific moment of the story. Technique number 5, dialogue. What are you hearing? Many of your stories will have more than one character, maybe a manager, your friend, a coworker, your dog, whoever it is. What did that character say in that crucial moment of the story? What were the exact words? For example, instead of saying, "My friend was very disappointed," say, "In that moment, my friend looked at me and said, 'Pillup, what on earth was that?'" Or instead of saying, "My manager was very happy with my work," say, "In that moment, my manager looked at me and said, 'Wow, that was really the best presentation you've ever given.'" Do you see the difference? Dialogue is such a simple tool to make any story much more interesting. It's actually the tool that I use the most. But there's just one thing to keep in mind, similar to with the thoughts. Share dialogue that is a little bit more interesting, a little bit more juicy. If you say something like, "In this moment, my manager said, 'Well, I'm very dissatisfied with the inadequate execution of that project,'" that would sound super boring, right? Instead, pick much more juicy, much more concise, and catchy dialogue.